Dave Adams, Legislative Affairs Director for the Virginia Shooting Sports Association, is with us on the show right now. Dave, how are you, sir?
Doing great, Cam. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you. And I guess maybe the GOP in Virginia got an early Christmas present. I don't know yet, honestly. Dave, when we asked you to come on the show, we thought we were going to be talking about, well, I guess we are still talking about the results in the 94th District in Virginia. Yesterday, it looked like a Democrat had unseated the incumbent Republican by one vote, which was crazy enough, but this crazy story gets even weirder, Dave, because today judges went back and looked and said, actually, no, that one vote should have gone towards the incumbent Republican. So now we're tied, and this is a race that could very well determine who's in charge of the House of Delegates in Virginia, and we're tied now, Dave.
Yeah. If it turns out that the Democrats flipped a seat, it would be a 50-50 split in the House of Delegates, and you'd have a power-sharing agreement similar to what they had when George Allen was governor. But, you know, it's a big difference between now and the 90s. After the election, and it looks like it was going to be a possibility of the Democrats flipping the House, there were some that said, look, you know, we passed shall issue concealed carry in 1995 with a Democratic majority in both the House and the Senate. We can do the same thing again. My response to that is it's a lot different because you had South Side and Southwest Virginia Democrats that were pro-gun, that were part of that majority. That's not the case now.
No, unfortunately, you're right. And look, you can still find pro-gun Democrats out there, certainly among the electorate. I think it's a little bit harder to find pro-gun Democrats among elected officials, but among the voters, they're still there. But you're right. This has become, and I think it's to everybody's detriment because I think our rights are safer when both parties are respective of those rights and want to see those rights strengthened and secured. When you only have one party interested in preserving those rights, and you got one party interested in ending those rights, that's scary. And so I got to tell you, Dave, I'm a little concerned about what happens next year in Virginia.
I am very concerned because you've only got a 1 or 2 vote pro-gun majority in the state Senate. Some of those folks are a little bit more moderate in the Senate than they are in the House. Some of them may not be completely pro-gun. So you could see some legislation possibly getting to Governor Northam's desk and him signing it, and that hasn't happened since 1993. This is going to be all hands on deck during this General Assembly session. Gun owners are going to need to be watching and making phone calls to their legislators because it's like you said yesterday, the canary in the coal mine scenario for gun control in Virginia. I would have never envisioned this soon, but the election night was totally different than I think a lot of people expected it to be.
Absolutely. And, I mean, did I hear you right? 1993, Dave, was the last time that you had an anti-gun majority and gun control legislation actually getting passed and signed into law in Virginia?
It was the last time gun control bill passed, and that was one gun a month.
Wow. That is amazing. I mean, so here we are, you know, more than 20 years later, almost 25 years, where we have not had to worry about that. And this is what concerns me too, Dave, because we've had 25 years without gun control legislation passing. I'm concerned that there are a lot of complacent gun owners. I don't even know if I want to use the word apathetic, because I don't think they're apathetic. I think they care. I'm not sure they realize the threat.
I think you're absolutely right. I think that they have been some folks have been so conditioned to, well, you know, the General Assembly is not going to let anything pass. Even if we do have a governor that's not pro-gun, we don't have to worry about bad bills getting through. That's not going to be the case possibly now, and that's something new here in Virginia. And gun owners need to wake up, or we could find ourselves in that coalition of the oppressed that you have with New Jersey, Massachusetts, New York. It's a different day in Virginia, I'm afraid.
I think you're right, and you know, you talk about New Jersey. I'm a little concerned, Dave, that you'll have a meeting of the mind between Phil Murphy, the governor-elect of New Jersey, and Ralph Northam, the governor-elect of Virginia. And, I'm concerned about our reciprocity agreements disappearing again because of Mark Herring. I don't think that, Ralph Northam is going to step in and try to save the day for concealed carry holders with some grand bargain with legislators like Terry McAuliffe was willing to do. I foresee, I foresee a big change coming, and I really hope that gun owners across the state of Virginia are going to get involved and now stay involved, because staying on the sidelines, thinking again that you've got some, you've got some firewall that's going to preserve your rights, that's gone. It's gone. So there's no other choice now. You have to get involved if you want to keep your rights.
The big difference between Governor McAuliffe and Governor Northam is the fact that McAuliffe had an almost veto-proof majority he had to deal with in the House of Delegates. He had enough people that thought well of our concealed carry permit law that he went into that grand bargain to overturn Mark Herring's actions because he did not want to have a veto overridden. He's never had a veto overridden. A lot of governors in Virginia are real careful about the power they're able to wield, and that's why he entered that bargain. That's not the case now. Mm-hmm. And so Northam could go out and veto a bill that would overturn anything Mark Herring might do, and you won't have a grand bargain like we did. So, absolutely. Gun owners need to be active and stay active. They need to get out there. They need to join VSSA. They need to join the NRA if they're not a member. We're the state association of the NRA. We work hand in hand with them, and we're right there at the legislature. We're going to be working for gun owners real hard. It's going to be the hardest legislative session I think we've had in a long time, possibly since 1993, and that was a lot of hard work trying to at least make the one gun a month law better than what it was originally introduced as.
I'm curious, Dave. Have you heard any specifics about what might be coming down the road here in terms of gun control legislation?
There's already been a bump stock bill introduced. There's already been a bill introduced to allow localities to ban firearms in libraries, I believe. I've been checking. There's about 10 bills, I think, that have been introduced. Most of them have been in the Senate, but the House has started dropping bills now. You're going to see the background check bills again. You're going to see the things that usually pop up, but then you're going to see, we've had several bills in the past trying to ban sporting rifles, modern sporting rifles. That's going to come back again. You could see something like that depending on what happens in this race. If they're able to convince a couple people to switch their votes, or they find some folks that are more moderate that vote with us sometimes and not with us sometimes, you're going to see bills that we never thought would have passed have a chance this time. It's going to be a serious legislative session for gun owners this year.
It absolutely is. Dave, listen, thank you so much, sir, for coming on the program. Again, when we know what the actual makeup is going to be, we'll love to talk with you. But, honestly, again, we've got, I think, this race in the 94th District. There are a couple of other recounts going on. No matter how those races turn out, this is going to be the biggest challenge that gun owners have faced in Virginia in at least 20 years, sounds like.
And, 2 more years can determine, even if it turns out that we keep a slim majority in the House, you got to do the same thing all over again. And next time, not only will the House of Delegates be up, but the state Senate's going to be up. And the other side, we now know, is energized. For example, Chesterfield County, where I live, has not gone for a Democratic governor since 1961. Northam just barely won Chesterfield County. There was a commissioner of revenue that was Republican. All of our local officials in Chesterfield were Republicans, and the commissioner of revenue got flipped. All the way down to small offices like that. It was a total disaster for the GOP in Virginia, and there's a playbook out there now, and it's going to go out to the elections next year for Congress, and then they're going to try to do the same thing again in 2019 when the entire General Assembly is up for re-election.
Absolutely. Hey, Dave, thank you again for coming on the program. Merry Christmas to you and yours, and we may be seeing each other at the state capitol here in the new year.
Yes, we may. Merry Christmas to you and your family, and look forward to talking to you again.
Yes, sir. We'll be in touch very soon. Dave Adams joined us, Legislative Affairs Director for the Virginia Shooting Sports Association.